Welcome back to the Outreach Project family. This is Josh.
This is Zach.
We are joined with
Kyle.
This is Kyle Bauer, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we had the pleasure of meeting you on our winter retreat for the youth.
That was a joy. As you know, it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. Tell us about that surprise, how that arose.
It was my work schedule these days is work from home Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, and in the office Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So it was just a typical Friday, working from home, and around lunchtime, got a call, a number I didn't recognize, and I pick it up, and it's Dana. She's like, hey, your son's coming with us this afternoon, right? And we've had a bit of an issue. You know, one of the volunteers came down sick, as you guys know, and they needed somebody to be Johnny on the spot. So that was March Madness opening weekend.
It was.
And I have to say, I was a little bit salty, thinking like, man, do I want to go do this and miss out on all the basketball? And then the Boilermakers went down in the first game anyways, which I would have been absolutely miserable watching. So it was definitely for the best.
Good. That was just total act of faith and obedience in that. That was.
You know, we've done Sunday school classes with like my two daughters.
Okay.
Who are younger. They're still elementary age. Colston, he's 6th grade now. And we had never really gotten a chance to do that with him. And it felt like a perfect opportunity to, to approach him in this setting, the church family, and see how he interacts with his friends, and, just enjoy that.
Yeah. What was your overall thoughts of that trip? It was
awesome. Awesome facilities, awesome group, good organization. Just a good balance. I feel like doing one of those things once a year is not quite enough. For kids that age, like, it's just such a good group and community to come together and build relationships and do a little fellowship and discipleship. So,
yeah, and it's a great way for a lot of these young guys, young ladies to invite friends as well. I know many people have came to faith from those trips as well. So I mean, fun, faith, food, parties. Who can not like it? So yeah,
I have to say that one evening that became a dance rave was a pretty unique experience, you guys.
What do you mean one evening? We did it twice.
We only got the invite once, but that was awesome.
You didn't invite him the first night?
We didn't know him, dude.
That's true. That's true.
Plus, we were on the other side of the camp.
Yeah.
It was like a half-a-mile walk. So.
Yeah.
Was the walk worth it?
Yes.
But yeah, that was awesome getting to know you. And then from then, we've just seen each other at church, and every few Monday nights when you're in some meetings and we're here, we run into each other. But it's been awesome getting to know you more. And actually, fun fact, it turns out Kyle's wife taught me in kindergarten. I did not know that. And
I didn't either. She said you were in her first class, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was a little shy kid, just
what happened?
Learning my ABCs and tying my shoes in Miss Bauer's class. Yeah.
She only taught there 2008 through 2011. So she had 3 years in as a teacher before we had Colston, and she started staying at home.
Okay, so you're
one of the blessed few.
I got lucky, and let's put it out there, I think she got lucky too. So,
yep.
Yeah, tell us a bit about yourself, Kyle. What do you do for fun? Who's in your family?
Born, bred, and raised in Columbia City, Indiana. We grew up downtown, where the center's at now.
Yeah.
We were actually just catty corner from that, across from the alley.
Okay.
And I've got an older sister, Rachel, an older brother, Carl, and a younger sister, Leslie. Grew up, great parents, great family. My parents, they started a business when we were younger. So Dad worked a lot. He was always a real hard worker, and he tried to instill that in us as well. One of those downtown Columbia City kids. Carl and I were on our bikes all the time, running around, meeting with friends.
Okay.
Like those are the good old days. Like you can't do that anymore, where the kids go and do. Like they're not in the house, nobody knows where they're at. It's pre-cell phones, all that stuff. I feel like we're blessed to grow up like that, and it's a little more confusing in today's day and age, but it is what it is. So went through middle school, had friends that we started doing stupid stuff, getting ourselves into trouble. And
Sounds
we were raised in the
typical.
church. My parents took us to church regularly. We went to Dunphy Missionary Church. But I don't know, fell in with the crowd there where we just didn't make great decisions at a relatively young age. And we ended up getting ourselves into more trouble than anybody should at that age, which was a great warning sign. And as I looked back on it and reflected on it over the years, like kind of God's intervention in my life. And that was definitely part of my faith story. It was being in the church, kind of understanding it all, but not really buying into it, and then having a bit of a rude awakening, at that young age, and realizing there is a better purpose to pursue, and to get serious about it. And shortly after that, so that was kind of late middle school, we went to high school, and I met Alicia as a freshman
At Columbia City High School.
Columbia City, the old building, of course.
Yep.
She needed my help tutoring in algebra class.
Wow.
Mr. Fricky is our teacher. And we started, kind of dating or whatever, late our freshman year. That was one of God's best blessings for our lives. Was we just found each other at that age and stuck together through high school. I went to Purdue. The first year was a really tough year because she went to IPFW that year. And we were away doing a little bit of a distance thing, which ended up being me coming home all the time on the weekends. And then we just decided to get married our sophomore year, halfway through our sophomore year. She transferred down to Purdue, and we finished out college and married housing there. And didn't have a whole lot of that, fun college experience, not because of being married, to be clear, but I was pretty serious studying stuff.
Yeah.
I studied actuarial science and statistics, and if you want to be an actuary, you have to take all these exams, and they're pretty rigorous. They're brutal, actually. So I studied for those just all the time, but went pretty well. Passed those at not in school, but then they proceed into your career, your early career. You're still doing them. So once I started at Swiss Re right out of college, kept doing those and got them done in the next 2 or 3 years after that. And then it was time to just kind of be professionally focused and start kind of doing fun stuff with Alicia as a young married couple. And we had some great years there. With our friends, the Shiveleys, Eameses, Moores, and others, just all kind of small town Columbia City families that have stuck around the area. But it wasn't too shortly thereafter that we actually decided to start trying and had Colston. And, from there we've, had Abigail, who's 2 years younger than Colston, Elsie, who's 2 years younger than Abigail. And I will say I was very professionally focused. Through my adolescence, my young adulthood, still am, although I pared it back a fair amount. But was just blessed by God with kind of traits and good parentage and that sort of thing, to where I was able to perform well in a work setting and move up the ranks, if you will. And at Swiss Re, they're headquartered. It's a big company, biggest global reinsurance company in the world. Insurance is pretty boring stuff, so I don't want to go too much further into it. But they've got presences all around the world, and the headquarters for the Americas are out just north of New York City. So they really wanted us to go out there, and we decided to try a little adventure and have at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, we're not really big city folks. I would say we're the opposite of that, but we did. Moved out to Connecticut, right on the New York-Connecticut border, and a small town called Ridgefield. Lovely place, beautiful area. Totally different culture from the Midwest. And we tried our hardest to plug in, buy a house and get to know people. It was some success, but we just never really fit in. So there was a season for me there of having great success at work and having great momentum and trajectory and all that stuff, but finding like, less and less fulfillment from it. So as this is actually before COVID even started, like we kind of decided, Alicia and I, we wanted to get our kids back to family.
Okay.
And get back to a culture that was more comfortable. So we decided to move back and started that process, and effectively failed to relocate due to a pretty brutal housing market out there at that point in time, but also at work. One of the executive leaders, he kind of came in and he heard about the whole plan and actually stopped it. So he was not the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah,
but,
dang.
We ended up sticking out there another couple of years, even after we decided we really wanted to come back. And then COVID happened, and that kind of evolved corporate America so far toward your physical location doesn't really matter that much. And in particular with Swiss, I mean, we had the office still in Fort Wayne, so it's not even like I was asking to go remote, like I was going to go to the Fort Wayne office again where I started. And we'd had a new CEO come into the Americas in that time span, so instead of blocking me, he was very supportive of it.
Nice.
So we moved back here early 2021.
Okay.
And at that point, still with Swiss Re, decided Columbia City for sure, not Fort Wayne, even though I was working there, and that we wanted to try to find a different lifestyle, something where we'd have a little bit of ground and be able to build something outside of career, like something as a family, like a farm, if you will. And we had a real frantic, stressful period for a few months there looking for a place to buy. My parents were gracious and they put us up at their place just east of town, but we searched for 4 months, and it's a roller coaster ride. I don't know if you've experienced that personally, trying to buy a house and get out from your parents' place when you're married with kids, and it's not exactly a comfortable kind of setup. So we were blessed again by God in that, because we ultimately were able to purchase Rex Schrader's ranch north of town, Rex Seniors, and we have tried to step into that and run a cattle business, and do other animals and gardening and chickens and all kinds of stuff. But it is a great blessing, as Alicia was baptized in the pond there, and I we grew up going to my grandma's house, like basically the neighbor, but always wondering what that place was, never really knowing what it was, and never really dreaming of owning it, but worked out really well.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's crazy story. Your boss didn't let you come back, and then COVID kind of blessed you, which didn't bless many, and then that relocation. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's it was a huge change for me to go from a pretty selfish mindset of career focus and let's just find personal success and glory to no, there's a better way, there's a more godly way, there's more important things in life. But God made me a specific way. He made me as a competitive person, to go do that kind of stuff and shine. And I never really felt guilty going about that lifestyle and being focused like that. But it was empty. I mean, there really, truly was emptiness. And so I knew deep down, like, there's something bigger and better to do with your life than just focus on your career. But actually then starting a transition journey, like making a commitment to try and going through that, with Alicia, she's been an amazing spouse and supporter. And she's always, been willing to do what I want to do for my career kind of thing, like great support from her. But we committed together that we would go through this change of slowing down, better balance between work and life and that kind of stuff. And it's been a difficult thing because you kind of reset your value system, the way I was trained myself for a long, long time. But I don't know, it's it's worked really well. We're obviously nowhere near the end. We're in the middle of that. That's going to be a lifelong transition, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a continued kind of battle to fight all the way through it. But I feel like we've made good progress, but it's been primarily through God's blessing of, things slowing down at Swiss Re, and then some friction developing around that I'm not sure how deeply we should get into, because it was more faith and topical COVID-oriented topics that became a big wedge, between me and that company, which was timely in that, we just all of a sudden, instead of building a career, it kind of, we relocated, it stalled a little bit, by choice, but also by external circumstance. Like, I was just not willing to do some stuff that they were setting as policy, and that was a difficult thing to manage relationships through that. And what I tried to do with integrity and godliness was still a really difficult thing.
Oh yeah.
And then it all, you could, in retrospect, I just see God's fingerprints, like, here and there through it all. Like, it led to me deciding to leave Swiss Re and transition to a new company based out of Fort Wayne. You guys probably heard of it. It's Lincoln Financial Group.
Yeah,
Pretty big insurance
my mom
company.
used to work there.
Yep. Which is, it's just been a perfect kind of season to start a new chapter.
When was that switch?
November.
Oh, very recent.
Yeah, it was about 6 months ago.
Yeah. How's God worked through that switch at Lincoln then?
He's been teaching me more, because it takes time and patience, right, to start fresh with a company like this. And at the level of the organizations that I'm at, where you have to come in a management capacity and build influence with people and learn a bunch of stuff about a culture that you don't know, fit into that, but also try to have an impact on it at the same time. Like, to do that in a way that is, approachable with people around you and not combative or, kind of dicey like that. That's been, for me, it's just move slow, right? Just move slow. So it's a reinforcement of what he started teaching me, to just take some time and slow down.
I got a couple questions. First question, how long did you guys live in Connecticut? That's just a random curiosity question.
We were nutmeggers for just over 5 years.
What's a nutmegger?
Well, we're Hoosiers here.
Oh.
We're nutmeggers out there.
Come on, man.
Did you live
know
in
this.
Connecticut and not New York due to tax purposes?
Well, yes and no, because that is part of it, but it's also just the value of houses.
Okay.
Right? They're probably 10% more expensive on the New York side of the border versus the Connecticut
Which is
side.
so wild because it's not that far apart. But
Yeah, that's a place called Westchester County, just north of New York City, which is a really wealthy, ritzy place that people want to be in.
oh, okay.
And it's like you're just asking for punishment and taxes and costs and everything.
Yeah,
but
it's
some people like that lifestyle.
not for you.
Second question, what is actuary science? Like, what
Oh,
even is that?
dude, we might need a new podcast for that.
Just like a quick overview.
Well, they basically make insurance, right? Agents sell insurance, life insurance, health insurance, property casualty, retirement stuff.
Mhm.
But those products have to be designed in a way that meets regulations and is robust so that, the insurance companies can make good on all the promises that they make. That's the job of the actuary.
Gotcha.
How did you start in that? What was kind of your roles working up through the companies?
How long were you at your old company before you switched to Lincoln?
It ended up being 15 years there. But I'll back up a little bit. So I've always had a really good academic record. I graduated from Columbia City as valedictorian and had a perfect, kind of career at Purdue as well. And late my senior year at high school, like, I had applied to 25 different universities, just had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my life. and was really good at math. That is a Bauer trait through and through. So I was going through a scholarship interview process with business leaders. I think it was Junior Achievement, or I can't remember the exact organization, but they had local business leaders, and I ended up having this guy interview me from Lincoln. And I was kind of asking that same question: what are you planning on doing with your career? What do you want to do? And I was like, well, I like math, and my parents have always run a business. I think I'd have a mind toward business. I like business as well. It's like, well, you should look into actuarial science. Have you ever heard of that? And I just had a stupid look on my face. I had no idea what that was. And I kid you not, in the span of an evening, so just 2 hours worth of searching, the topic after that interview, I went from an enormous amount of stress and uncertainty to knowing what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Like, it was so painfully obvious that it was going to be a perfect fit for me. So that's how I found that whole career path. I'd otherwise never heard of it in my entire life. Mm-hmm. And I still know it's not really well understood or known about. But I've tried to get into like Columbia City High School and teach students about it from time to time and that kind of thing. So at Swiss, actuaries, some of them you can stick in a closet because they're that type of mentality. Like, they're just nerds, just through and through, kind of not really social people. That's very much the old school of actuary. The career's gotten enough exposure over the last couple of decades that a newer breed, more like myself, has come into it. I'm going to say normal people.
Jeez.
But a lot of actuaries do really technical math work. And I did that for the first year and a half or so out of school. And it was fine, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do longer term. So I jumped into sales with Swiss Re, which is the opposite of actuarial work. And I did that non-technical, kind of develop your communication, sales skills, negotiation, all that kind of stuff for 10 years in different capacities, getting involved with mergers and acquisition work, these large reinsurance transactions that we would do for capital management with our clients at Swiss Re, which was where it melded really well together because I had a strong technical foundation, good problem-solving skills, and when you get into those kinds of settings, these high-stakes transactions, negotiations, where there's all kinds of creativity and levers that can be pulled to deliver a solution for a client like that. It was fertile playground for me, and I enjoyed doing that a lot and built a reputation around it. And then moved into Swiss Re's treasury function, and was effectively the treasurer for the Americas the last few years that I was there. 30 or 40 different entities across lots of different countries on this hemisphere. And that was me being an actuary trying to be an accountant, which was a totally different learning curve and very challenging in its own right. But I don't know, maybe that's too boring stuff.
I find it a bit interesting. You probably...
I like to hear about it. I don't know what any of it means.
that can be a different time.
Sure.
For that. But yeah, how have you seen, I guess, God's... I don't know how I want to word this. How have you seen God's faithfulness through kind of seeking Him instead of work, this kind of new lifestyle? Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't start there. I might go farther back.
Okay.
The impact that faith and God have had on my life. And starting back at that middle school shenanigan that got us into trouble. Right. It was just after that, getting a little bit more serious about following God's teachings, making good moral decisions, and surrounding yourself with people, that are like-minded in that capacity. It came home to me that if I didn't do that, things would get worse and not better. And, I was blessed to have parents who didn't really give me a choice in the matter either. Like they're
Good.
godly people, and they some stuff happened under their noses that they didn't realize. But then once that happened and they realized what was going on, they interceded in a strong way as well. And then I met Alicia, which was just perfect timing, right? Kind of God's timing, and we were perfect for each other right from the get-go. And we started. She brought me from Dunphy to First Church, and Dunphy was a great church at the time, and it's changed names. I haven't been back there for a couple decades now, but it was small, right? It was a small little town of Dunphy, and no real youth ministry at that point in time. So coming to First Church, to where even back in 2000, it was a big youth group. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, oh wow, there are friends to be made here. There's fellowship to be found here, and I didn't recognize it as such, right? That it would ultimately be like, for God's good. But clearly, God gives us opportunities to make choices that are ultimately going to lead to Him. And whether we realize it or not, some of them are just a lot of what He teaches us in the Bible are just good common sense ways to live. Like being authentic, building deep relationships with people, and in a way, loving your neighbor, that kind of thing. So, I found a great group with First Church, Kyle Alcott, Kyle Wood, and others at that point in time, and we had 4 years of just on fire faith.
This was high school?
Through high school, yeah. And tons of personal growth through that, studying the Bible and evangelizing, trying to do that kind of stuff, mission trips, Haiti and the Dominican Republic and that sort of thing. All such valuable experiences to invest in, because you learn so much more about yourself, than you can ever really give on a trip like that. But it's just a win-win thing. So I would say through that fire, there was some zealousness toward righteousness that I personally found. So I would describe myself as a pretty black and white person, and studying the Bible quite a lot, seeing this whole, I think at that point in time, a lot of what I saw there was a rule book.
Yeah.
As much as it's the love story, it was also, hey, God loves us, but we're supposed to do these things, and there's all these rules, which I took pretty seriously, and Alicia did too. So we were disciplined in our relationship with each other, as far as physical activity and that sort of thing, and I feel like that was another one of God's blessings in the end, because when you practice discipline of whatever capacity, you get better at it, and it becomes a lifelong trait that will yield fruit, different capacities, whatever the setting may be. So I felt like he made me with all these things, and then led me to a setting where I could find how it all clicked together, what it meant, and how to live, for Him like that. And in our pursuit of that, and we're not perfect, I wouldn't get anywhere near that, right? But we tried our hardest, and we've tried to treat people right and make good moral decisions, live with integrity and faith, and it's just been one blessing after another from God, coming from all that. So that's, that I can't remember the phrasing of the original question that sourced all this, but
no, kind of like you said when you were working pretty hard, you didn't feel a fulfillment from that work. How have you felt fulfillment from God then?
Yeah, so I would say that journey was a manifestation of selfishness. The career focus, like, you do it for the right reasons. You want to provide for your family, but I'm not going to lie to myself. I was doing it because I liked the spotlight, and it was a great way for me to be visible and find material success and that kind of thing. And I don't think that stuff's bad, right? It can become bad if you make it, an idol. And I think I was at that point in time. but just like I said, it felt, well, okay, so you get a promotion, you get more money. Once you get to a set amount of money, and it's not that much. I mean, I think once you can pay your bills and live with a little bit of a buffer, and not have a fear of like making ends meet, I think money as a utility after that starts to really become less important. So as we were finding success of different varieties there, it was like it just was not really rewarding. In the spotlight, yeah, you get it, but then inevitably in a career, you do something that goes unnoticed, or somebody else gets the glory from something that you worked hard on, or it's all a competitive setting in corporate America, at least where I was, and that becomes defeating inevitably. Like, you can't win all the time. And when you lose, depending on the scale of that loss and what kind of impact it has on you, it's a lot to bounce back from, and feel like you're making all the right decisions, but things outside of your control still aren't working out for you. And that was a good teacher as well. Like, I could continue down this path and probably have more success, but boy, there's a lot of unhappiness in it. There's just conflict with people because there's jealousy that comes about, and shady stuff, trying to throw people under the bus, like all the political drama that you can imagine in corporate management. So I went through a time trying to step out of the spotlight, and I would say this was the beginning of a transition, right, away from Kyle to, well, let's invest in other people and see, try a leadership style where we're building up people around us and not trying to hog all the glory, and see if not only that becomes kind of a healthier setting for everybody, but also if it becomes a way to, be a religious example. I mean, it's very difficult to get into religious topics in the workplace.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, if you live a certain way, like with integrity and conviction, people ultimately ask questions because you don't look and feel like the same way that people around you are. So on some occasions, like I would get to high-level faith conversations with colleagues, and so I decided at that point, first off, to slow down, stop traveling so much, being away from the family, being kind of a disruptive career that made it hard for us to make a community around our house, Alicia and the kids, and the small group that we hosted there, like in Connecticut, like it was the raw material was there to kind of start making more of a community, but we just hadn't, because of my career, we hadn't really focused on it. So I tried that, slow down and invest in other people, and see if that's more fulfilling, and found some of that, but it's hard to play in that space and not fall into the trap of selfishness. And I'm a selfish person. Like I've tried, to move past that, and I know that will be my vice, my struggle for my life, which is fine. Like everybody's got them, but for me, it's just continually try to recommit to slowing down, thinking about others, and feeding the the wolf inside of you that's about other people instead of about yourself. God, I think just through it working out with the relocation, and then working out through some roles with Swiss Re that allowed me to avoid a heavy travel once we'd moved back, even though there were certain people that were really trying to pressure me, like back into sales, because it had been a very successful capacity. I didn't want to go back on the road all the time, and we're at a season where we wanted to emphasize our kids and the golden years of parenting before they become teenagers, and we lose total control, as you guys interact with regularly. And just slow down for a season, and he made it all happen. And I think I would have been crushed going through that whole transition and not finding a farm to work on. Not having an opportunity outside of work to, start building something else more constructive in a different capacity.
Yeah.
So he's given me an outlet, to scratch the itches that he made me with and transition away from sole focus on career in the process.
He's provided well, it sounds like. Pretty perfect timing all through and through.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. His timing always is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a little lighthearted question. What do you like to do for fun?
Golf.
Yeah.
All right, we're golfing this summer.
Yeah.
I'll go hit the course with you.
What's your favorite course to play in the area?
Around here? Probably Coyote Creek.
Okay.
It's forgiving. Wide open off the tee box. So
No, I've never played there. Our buddy's grandpa part owner of it though.
Oh.
So
cool.
we could figure out a way. But
I
yeah.
was a member there with Trent Shively for a year before, within timing wise, I actually moved out to Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the best golf year of my life. Got down to a reasonable handicap, and I did join a club out in Connecticut for a year. It was a lot more expensive out there, but it was
I
2020. So everybody had a ton of free time on their hands in 2020, and the
Mhm.
golf courses were one of those rare things that actually stayed open.
Just with the noodle in the cup that
Exactly.
made no sense.
In fact, one of my favorite golf stories is I think I might have had an albatross once.
Did it hit the noodle?
Let's say it was 275 yards away. I couldn't see
Yeah,
if it
okay.
rolled like right over the noodle in the cup, because it was, if this was the hole, on a par 5 off of my second shot, my ball was like right here,
Oh wow.
and I'd hit from over here, right? So like it was like it went right over the cup, but it didn't drop in because the noodle was there.
And no one's on the green to tell you.
I was out there golfing by myself.
I like
Oh.
the COVID rules. Smoke your putt off the flagstick and call it a birdie. That was good time.
Yep.
That's funny.
I would love to go golf. It has been a victim of the last year and a half of running a day job with Swiss Re or Lincoln, and then a second job with the farming activities,
Mhm.
plus all the kids' activities on top of that. So maybe if we go, bring Colston along.
Oh yeah, it'd be fun. Or like, if any guys are listening, we just had like a men's ministry breakfast. You were farming during it, but like if
Yep.
guys were interested in golf, maybe we could get a group going or something. Just a good way to connect with people. That's kind of what this is all about, getting people's interest stories out there. And if you guys want to golf with Kyle or us, just let us know. We can make it happen.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be really cool. A golf ministry.
Another hobby is mountain biking, but cross-country stuff, not like the crazy downhill jumps and.
You're not a jumper.
No, oh my gosh. No, I would. Although if you ask Trent again, I tried to coax him out on the mountain biking course once, and he saw me attempt a jump that ended in disaster. So my one shot at convincing my good buddy there to do something regularly with me, and I think I sent him the other direction. So. But that's one thing Colston got into too.
Okay.
That's, as you get older and get into fatherhood, if you're blessed, with that, it's awesome. Having a son that you can invest into and do these sorts of things, and daughters as well.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you said earlier before this, your wife stays home and homeschools the children. How's that been?
she loves it. They love it. It's great flexibility in the schedule. Great learning for them, because it basically is one-on-one tutoring all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, I know not everybody can do it, and not that many people want to do it, but Alicia and I came up through the public school system, so I've got nothing against it, but we've just found such a great way in homeschooling. And there again, like, COVID changed a lot. There's a number of families that do it now, and that's its own separate kind of community that we found great relationships in. So
Well, you work from home a few days a week too, and many others do, which make it a lot more applicable to.
That is true, but one thing I am awful at is teaching. So I let Alicia handle that.
Not the math? You're not gonna.
I've helped on occasion, but
Okay.
yes, only when it's slow at work and I'm in a patient mood.
Alicia told me you're a really good math tutor, though. I mean, she she knows from experience.
I don't think she was interested in math.
She didn't care about the algebra 2, Josh.
Oh no. It's a classic story of failing the tests on purpose and then asking the cute guy or girl to tutor you in class. I never did that. I was always a genius, but well.
All right.
But yeah, sounds like you have traveled a lot in your life. We ask all of our guests the same closing question, so I'm pretty interested to hear yours. What is your dream trip or dream vacation? And we want to know where you're going, who you're bringing, what you're doing. There's not monetary restrictions or anything. It's all a dream.
I lived in Europe for 4 months.
Really?
Traveled over there quite a lot with Alicia and Colston at the time, and we found a lot of great places. Fell in love with Italy and the Tuscan region. Traveled all across the U.S. for business meetings, all major cities, almost all states, in the lower 48. But all of that traveling and frequent trips over to Europe when I was with Swiss Re, because they're headquartered globally in Zurich, I would say the easy answer here was Maui. Going out to the beautiful islands in Hawaii. For my 10-year anniversary at Swiss, they had an awesome perk. Get like a sabbatical, 1 month. Got to take it all at once. Actually force people to just disappear from the office and reset.
Huh.
And so Alicia and I, kids were probably at that point, 2018, I think. Yeah. So 7, 5, and 3. We hadn't really had a vacation without them since they'd been born.
Mm-hmm.
So we were living in Connecticut at the time, drove to Indiana like we always did, dropped the kids off at Nana and Papa's, flew out to San Diego for a couple of days, and then out to Maui for a little over a week, and just had a totally magical experience there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a beautiful place, great food, just total freedom for us at that particular juncture, not having the kids, and we'd love to go back. But while I would say it's a vacation you do without kids, Alicia's absolutely dead set on us taking them with us next time.
Okay, so.
Maui with the kids.
Wow. What are you guys doing there? Hiking? Mountain biking?
Yeah, Haleakala is the main volcano on that island. And you can drive right up it. And it's actually a pretty short drive. It's like one of the steepest ascents you could make in a car in the globe.
Huh.
You just chicane back and forth and go like straight up. It's awesome. But once you get up there, you can look down into the crater, and they've got sliding sands hiking trail. And it looks like the surface of Mars. Like you're looking at this otherworldly landscape. It's breathtaking because you're above the clouds, but you can see the tops of them, and you can see this like crazy, eerie landscape. And I'd like to go back and hike it. Like we didn't really hike that trail last time.
Why not?
We went up in the afternoon, and by the time we got up there, it was probably 3 or 4 p.m. It was getting dark. I don't know, I want to say 7. You need like a whole day to get there. And then the whole trail is downhill until you get to where you got to turn around, and every single step back is uphill, and you're at 10,000 some feet elevation with basically no acclimation. So it's a pretty physical thing to do as well.
You should mountain bike it.
Yeah, I think that'll work. The other thing we did there, which I would highly recommend, is a lot of people do the sunrise. We actually stayed for the sunset and then for the night sky coming up, because it's one of the clearest skies you'll see anywhere on the planet
Why is that?
because it's so high. And in fact, there's an observatory at that same elevation. You can see it from where like the trailhead is for that trail. You can't go access it, but you're basically looking at the stars at the same height as they've got a world-leading observatory established. And it was unlike anything I've ever seen.
Really? So you see all of God's beautiful creation, get to take that in, and then
Yep.
you would get time with the family. That sounds awesome.
Yep.
That's my favorite answer we've had so far. Is it not yours?
I don't remember all of them.
Oh, well, we can't all remember them all.
You don't remember all of them.
But yeah, Kyle, thank you so much for sharing and opening up to us about your life and who you are. Do you have any closing thoughts, remarks?
Thank you guys. Appreciate the opportunity. We moved back here and are trying it. We moved back to a place we know, right, with lifelong friends
Yeah.
and a real comfortable environment. But at the same time, like, we moved back here to try to plug into this community and help build it. But that's a team effort. So I love seeing the church contribute to that and trying to be a part of it all. But if anybody out there is looking, to make community happen, let's touch base.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Reach out to Kyle. You can comment or you can find his information. It's not hard.
Yeah, drive on up the house.
During the daytime.
Probably daytime.
Don't hit any cows. Yeah.
He has a new cattle guard, so you won't hit him.
You'll still hit the cows if they're in the driveway.
Why would they be in the driveway?
Because they're cows. They do what they want.
Yeah.
You just let them go in the driveway?
Oh yeah, they meander all through the pasture. The driveway goes
I'm
right
gonna
through the pasture.
we're cow tipping you.
Do you know what the cattle guard does?
Thank you so much for watching and listening, people. We appreciate you guys. Like Kyle and we have said, we just have hearts to grow community, share people's stories, and just connect with you guys. Hopefully, virtually or digitally, however you want to view or listen. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next time on the Outreach Project. Peace.
Peace.
Cheers.
You have to say peace.
Peace.